Ohio State's defense has been lights out early, a start that could fuel dominance all season long.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Victory Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes, and today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we will discuss one thing we should all monitor with Ohio State's defense, but first, Ohio State's defense has started this season strong, and they started in a way that I don't think anybody could have predicted. They have only given up one touchdown through 2 games. They had a shutout in game number 2, and with a new defensive coordinator and 8 new defensive starters, that adds to how special this start has been for the Buckeyes defense, and it adds to what this year could be for Ohio State. Not only do the Buckeyes have so many weapons on offense, but what we're getting right now on defense is a unit that is playing as one. Yes, there are 11 guys out there on the field at any given time. And in that grouping of 11, on defense, you have defensive linemen, you have linebackers, you have corners, and you have safeties. They all have different roles. They all play different parts, so the overall unit can be successful. Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, they kind of steal some of the spotlight and the shine and get a lot of the attention for what the Buckeyes defense is currently doing through 2 games. But you can't forget about Caden McDonald and Edric Houston and Bo Atkinson, who comes off the bench, and Keanu Jackson Jr. and Caden Curry, Igbinosin, Lorenzo Styles Jr., Matthews Jr. You can't forget Taylor McClain. I know I'm forgetting some players because that's how many guys have been pivotal, instrumental to Ohio State's defense having this strong start. And starting strong is great. That's what you want. If you're on any team, no matter if it's start to a season or a start to a game, you want to start strong. In basketball, it's often said the first 4 to 5 minutes of a half in college basketball set the tone for the half. Now, I do hope down the road they move to quarters in college basketball because that makes the most sense. But in a college basketball game, the first 4 minutes until that first media timeout, that's very big, and that's going to help fuel you throughout the rest of the half. Now, you can have ups and downs. There'll be ebbs and flows, but you all know starting strong is a way to set the tone for the game and for the half. For Ohio State, they are not only setting the tone, they're somewhat suffocating the other team. They are not allowing them to gain any confidence, to gain any traction. And you know with Texas, they got elite dudes. They got elite weapons. Their offensive line is going to be good this year. I know it was week number 1, but they're going to be good this year. Their running backs are already good. They got so many guys out there that are going to torch other teams. I believe Archie even had 4 touchdowns on Saturday. So they're going to be really good this year. But what Ohio State's defense did was allow Texas to, unfortunately, gain too many rushing yards, but they didn't allow Arch Manning to get comfortable. When it came to Grambling State, now this is completely different because they're no match. Grambling State's coach even realized we know why we know why we're here, and him acknowledging that is very important because if he wasn't going to openly acknowledge that, you may think, well, does this man think he actually has a chance to win, or does he think he's going to have a chance to trip them up? No, everybody and their mama knows why Grambling State came in, but Ohio State's defense still gave them the full Ohio State treatment, which is what you want. And Ohio State had an easy opportunity to play down to their opponent, but they didn't. And Caden Curry talked about this after Ohio State's win over Grambling State, that the Buckeyes defense takes pride in recording a shutout, and as they should. But he went on a little bit further to discuss this very part of the game. Quote, defensive players, they always love shutouts. Definitely seeing Coach Patricia get his first is always something to get excited about. Just love to see it, end quote. And that part about Matt Patricia is big. As big as his smile has been since he's been at Ohio State. I don't remember a coach coming to Ohio State that has smiled that big every time he's behind a microphone, every time you see a picture of him. Matty P is smiling like he is a kid on Christmas morning. He's always happy. He's almost feeling revitalized because he's now back teaching the football. Because a lot of coaches, they love coaching. They love the NFL. But in the NFL, you're not really teaching. You're not really teaching the game to someone who isn't a pro yet, but has aspirations to be a pro. And Patricia is doing that right now, even working in some of his NFL game calls and NFL schemes that he utilizes. Doing that with the Ohio State players is huge, but Matt Patricia is so happy. And as a player like a Caden Curry or anybody that plays on Patricia's defense, you're going to want to make him happy. I mean, if you see your coach, he's new, you know that there were some people that were a little upset with him being at Ohio State. All you want to do is show him that you appreciate him. You want to go out there and just lay it all on the line. Maybe you want to run through a brick wall for him, but you want to just go all out every time you're on the field. And the Buckeyes defense has done that. I went back and looked at the first two games in any given season under Ryan Day. That is 2019 season all the way through this year, to see how many years Ohio State's defense has only given up one touchdown through the first two games. And there's a connection between the 2022 season and this year. And both of the years are the only years during this stretch Ohio State played a top 5 team in the season opener. 2022, Ohio State opened up at home against Notre Dame. And this year, of course, they opened up against Texas at home. In 2019, Ohio State gave up 2 touchdowns in their first 2 games. They also had a shutout. They gave up 2 touchdowns to Florida FAU, and they shut out Cincinnati in week 2. In 2020, this is a weird year. It was a COVID year, so I almost wanted to eliminate this one, but I couldn't. Ohio State gave up 5 touchdowns in their first 2 games. They played a home game against Nebraska, and then they played at number 18 Penn State. In 2021, easily the worst defense of any Ryan Day coach team, Ohio State gave up 8 touchdowns in their first 2 games. At Minnesota, they gave up, 5 touchdowns? And then, 5 was Oregon. They gave up 5 touchdowns to Oregon. Then they gave up 3 touchdowns to Minnesota. 2022, they only gave up 1 touchdown, and that was to Notre Dame. That was a rushing touchdown. The very next week, they played at Arkansas State. Just gave up 4 field goals. 2023, they gave up 1 touchdown. That was one they gave up to Youngstown State, an FCS school. Last year, the Buckeyes didn't give up a touchdown at all in the first 2 games. They gave up 2 field goals to Akron. The very next week against Western Michigan, it was a shutout, a 56-0 win. This year, 1 touchdown. So this kind of start is not something that is so abnormal to a Ryan Day coach team, but this defense looks different than any other even good defenses Ryan Day has had. Last year's defense was really, really good, but I don't believe they had such a strong start. I know they didn't. At IU, at versus Akron and versus Western Michigan, 2 MAC schools, 2 schools that are going to test you a little bit. Not allowing them to score is great. But my eyeballs are telling me freer, they're not overthinking anything right now. A lot of that has to do with Matt Patricia. This defense, this strong start is great, but it can't stop here. They must continue to move forward and to build on what they've already put down on the field. They got a strong foundation. They got elite players, probably going to have multiple first-round picks that are currently starting on this team. That's great. That's a huge start. But this can't be it. Bringing it once again against Ohio after the off week. When you go on the road to Washington and beyond, bring that type of firepower once again. While bringing the firepower, there's one thing that sticks out with this defense, which is why they've had such a strong start. We'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Their part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, low to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank you all for tapping and Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. If you missed our live reaction show after Ohio State's 70-0 win over Grambling State or our Sunday pod, go back and check those out. They're both on the YouTube and anywhere you get your audio podcasts. Kind of a live reaction to what we just witnessed, and then diving deeper into the notebook, talking about Julian Sand and more notes from the Buckeyes' massive win. Speaking of a massive win, during that massive win, the Buckeyes had a shutout. Let that sink in for you. Not only did Ohio State score 70 points, and they emptied the bench, let everybody and their mom get on the field, Ohio State also had a shutout. It's one thing to say Ohio State's defense played the entire time. They played a big-time opponent or a team that was respectable and kept the game close, and Ohio State pitched a shutout. That's great. It's another thing to say it when everybody plays. True freshmen, some guys that have been there for 3 years that hadn't really moved up the depth chart like they like to, or maybe they've been jumped because there have been some younger guys that have just been that good that they get on the field a little bit earlier. And Ohio State still pitched a shutout. And just one thing that sticks out with Ohio State shutting out an opponent, especially the way that they played on Saturday, everybody was ready to play. I'm not just saying physically ready to play or having the mindset like I'm ready to get on the field. They were prepared in a way that if they had a pop quiz, they would have all aced it. I mean, they kind of did. Going into a game, I don't want to say it's a pop quiz. You can prepare as much as you want to because you're going into a battle. But, let's just say it's a test, not a pop quiz. You have a test. And Ohio State knows they're going to have a few days to prepare. Yeah, they had a game the previous Saturday. It was a physical game. It was a grueling game. Sunday, you got the film. And then you get back on the practice field. You don't have to do your rehab if you're hurt, or you have to do your own physical recovery from going to battle. Then you have practice. Bloody Tuesday gets really physical out there. The next thing you know, kind of wind down, tone it down, getting ready for the next game. But if you're a starter or if you are a key backup, you already know. My mind's already there. If I'm a true freshman or a walk-on, and I know going into this game, Ohio State is easily the better team, I did not see an official betting line via our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, but if they had to put one out, my guess is it would have been Ohio State minus 54.5 or minus 56.5. And so if the spread is that large, you got to expect a youngster to get ready. But if you're new to this, you may think you're ready, but you don't know if you're truly ready until you get on the field. And everybody that played on the defense was ready to play. Yeah, Keanu Jackson Jr. was back out there after leaving the game early against Texas. That was great to see. Caden Curry got a sack. That was great to see. Caden McDonald, I believe he had a forced fumble. That was great to see. Riley Pettijohn, he went in there. Oh, Riley Pettijohn. TJ Alford was making plays. Aaron Scott Jr. was making plays. All these guys, Peyton Pierce was making plays. Now, he's a key backup, but he was still making plays. There are a lot of guys out there on the defense that aren't normal contributors. But what did you find? Everybody was prepared. And that goes back to not just Ryan Day. That goes back to Matt Patricia and OG Tim Walt and Matt Guerreri, James Onitis, Larry Johnson, and all of their assistant coaches and defensive support staff members. That goes to them too. With them being prepared like that, think about what that's going to mean for Ohio. Now, I'm not going to say everybody's going to play against Ohio because Ohio just beat West Virginia 17-10. A game that Ohio, I believe, at halftime had already scored 17 points, did score another point the rest of the game, but their defense just got tough, didn't bow up. The outcome is a Bobcat upset. So they want to come into the shoe knowing they're overmatched, but they know they got something special. But Ohio State's defense is special too. When everybody's prepared for the test, special things happen. And I say everybody, this is a group project that you get graded on. Your grade is in front of millions of people every week. You are guaranteed 12 tests. Outside of that, you got to prove you're ready for the next level. Yeah, you may say, Jay, they're going to be a bowl team. You may say, Jay, they're going to the playoff. And I believe Ohio State's going to the playoff, which means it will be it could be a bowl team. Yeah, but they'll be bowl eligible. They have to play a game in the first round before playing in an actual bowl game. Those are just kind of the lay of the land and the way things work. But no matter what you think about Ohio State, they got to prove it on the field. And being prepared for everything is huge. And that goes to Matt Patricia. I am still amazed, and as I'm saying it on this show, my amazement is still coming in, and I'm amazed about more things every single day. If you go back and rewatch the game, either the entire game or if you go back and watch some of the shorter clips, 20 or 30-minute videos that you will see on YouTube, you will find out and look out there and say, Patricia's players are ready to go. There were times with Jim Knowles that players weren't ready, even in year 2 or maybe even in year 3. Some of the calls may have been too complex, or maybe they had too much on their plate to prepare for. And you saw there were some guys that were prepared. There were some guys that weren't, and it caused some confusion. And guys, think about the Oregon game. Guys are a little bit late to line up. They weren't ready for the tempo. I know the atmosphere impacted that too, but they weren't fully prepared. Not all 11 guys on the field were all on the same page, and it led to Ohio State having a 1-point loss. Now what you're finding with Ohio State's defense, I think Patricia did a great job of teaching the defense during the offseason. So if a guy is someone that has an issue being prepared, he kind of kicked out the window and said, hey, man, let's simplify everything. It's not going to be too complex. It's not going to be something that you're going to have to think about 2 or 3 seconds and be a little bit late getting lined up. No, let's simplify everything. And Matt Patricia did that so well that Downs, Lorenzo Styles Jr., Jalen McClain, everybody in the secondary, they're making things so difficult for opposing quarterbacks because the picture is different from pre-snap to post-snap. It's not just different pre to post. It is some things that you don't normally see. There was literally a play, I don't know the part of the game, I believe it was the first half, where Caden Curry lined up at the end of the line of scrimmage on the Buckeyes' left side. I believe there were a couple of guys already walked up on the line of scrimmage, and so as a quarterback, you're trying to see, okay, I got 2 backers here in the A-gap, in both A-gaps. I got the D lineman normally where they line up. I got Caleb Downs wherever he is on the field. I got all these guys accounted for. That's a pre-snap picture. Now, you may expect Downs to drop into coverage or to blitz. Those are probably the 2 things you might expect. Probably not a spy, but he is a good spy too. You may expect the backer to go in or to go out. Go into blitz or to come out and to go into coverage. You might not expect the defensive end to drop back into coverage with all this commotion and all this movement. But when that happens, your post-snap picture is not what you thought it was going to be, and it could lead to a quicker pass than expected. That's what happened. Caden Curry dropped back into coverage into the flat. It forced the quarterback to throw a quicker pass than expected. The ball carrier ended up running out of bounds for a short gain. It wasn't an incompletion, but it was a player that was prepared, All 11 guys were on the same page. A shorter pass than expected was thrown, and it led to a short gain. Sometimes short gains are what you want. Not every ball is going to be incomplete. You're not going to have a turnover on every play. So what can you do? Be so prepared, be so locked in that all 11 guys on the field are acting as one unit every single play. And that's what's happening. The Buckeyes preparation is so much fun to watch because there's so much fun to watch while being prepared. If they weren't all prepared, I guarantee we would not be having as much fun watching the defense do what they're doing every single week. And it's not just the older guys. The young Bucks are prepared as well. While the young Bucks are prepared and the Buckeyes defense has been fun to watch, there's one thing I believe all of us need to monitor with the Buckeyes defense, and we will discuss that after the break. This episode is brought to you by the Game Cap. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be the game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles and fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code LOCKEDON, you will get your vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com and grab your team's classic bar or circle design and use code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount. Once again, go to thegamecaps.com and grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. This defense has been fun. They've had a lot of guys contribute to how elite the team has played, that this unit has played through the first 2 games of the year. But while they have been fun to watch and while they have been at an elite level, while they have only allowed 1 touchdown through 2 games, this is only the 3rd time in Ryan Day's tenure as Ohio State's head coach that the Buckeyes have only allowed 1 touchdown. Defense, 1 touchdown for the opposing team's offense through 2 games. That's great. What isn't great is the lack of the pass rush. And my expectation for the Grambling State game was that Ohio State was going to have more of a pass rush. I know the execution goal that we had on this show that we discussed was 4 sacks for the team. And I thought that was going to be an easy mark to hit. No, it wasn't, which isn't good. The Buckeyes had 1 sack against Texas. That was an Arvell Rees-sack. That was the coffee house stunt that has been going around, a video of someone breaking that down. And I didn't know the name of that stunt. I just knew it was a stunt, and it worked. It worked to perfection. And that was fun to watch. This past weekend, I believe Caden Curry and Zion Grady had 2 sacks for Ohio State, and so they didn't hit the execution goal. But it was good to see a young buck get a sack. It was good to see someone that I've been wanting to play football for at least 8 years now, 7 to 8 years now, get a sack in Caden Curry. And for the Buckeyes defense, you have C.J. Hicks, Keanu Jackson Jr., 2 guys that could be sack masters. K-Jack was my guy that I thought was going to be, I still believe is going to be the Buckeyes' leading sack man this year. I didn't put a number on it, but I believe it's going to be a mark he's going to hit. I also believe that C.J. Hicks is going to be a dog during Big Ten play, but he has to get up to speed. He's only played 2 games on the edge, and in that, he didn't play a full game at it this past weekend. He probably only played a half of football. And so you got to figure out, do we have to blitz a little bit more to get pressure on the quarterback and to get more sacks? Or do we have to blitz a little bit more or make the coverage a little bit cloudy to make the quarterback hold the ball a little bit longer so our guys can get more pressure on the quarterback? Or is there some things we just got to push them to do and practice so that they translate on the field during a game? Those are things for Matt Patricia and Larry Johnson to figure out, because I think Larry Johnson's unit is going to be strong, and you're going to get some guys that are going to be getting pressure on the quarterback all game long. But through 2 games, you really haven't seen the pressure on the quarterback yet. The Buckeyes, through 2 games, have 3 sacks. Some other defensive numbers. There have been 2 interceptions. I believe that was a Matthews Jr. INT, and then the one Caleb Downs had. There have been 2 fumble recoveries. There have been 11 tackles for loss. And the tackles for loss is big because you're getting guys that are penetrating the opposing offensive line, pressure, and getting tackles in the backfield at a pretty good rate. You're averaging 5.5 TFLs a game. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, especially when you're playing a lot of youngsters in game number 2. You would think, oh, that number might be 7 or 5 or 4. No, 11. That is great. How do you translate the penetration you're getting in the run game to pressure on the quarterback in the passing game? That needs to happen. The athleticism is there. I wonder if a lot of it is because guys are playing more snaps than normal, and the wear and tear that it takes on your body and mentally wears on you is something that has not allowed them to push out and go all out and to push a little bit further and harder to get more pressure on the quarterback. I don't have all of the answers. I just know this is something we are going to monitor. I do expect at some point Patricia to start moving guys around a little bit, or if a guy gets consistent pressure, leaving him on the field a little bit longer, because you got to get pressure on the quarterback. I haven't started digging into the Ohio Bobcats yet. Deep dive. I did get a little preliminary watch again of their last game against West Virginia to see some things that they were doing and some of the offense that clicked for them in that game. But I do know this. When you get into Big Ten play, I know that a little bit better than the Ohio Bobcats. After the off week, you got DeMond Williams. Good. Really good quarterback. On the road to Illinois, the battle for the Ella Buck. Luke Altmaier, one of the tenured starting quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Don't know that to be for sure, but really, really, really good quarterback. Minnesota has a young quarterback, so I don't think it's going to be as big of a threat as some others, but Minnesota has a really good running back in Darius Taylor. And so that's another thing to monitor and to watch, and know that if you got a good running game, that may allow your quarterback to get a little bit more comfortable, and also that might slow down your pass rush. Wisconsin, I believe it's Billy Edwards. Not really worried about it, but you got to get pressure on these quarterbacks. You already know when you go to that Penn State game what's going to happen. Drew Aller has looked better than he did a year ago. You got to get pressure on the quarterback. Do I need to say anything about Michigan? I can. I'm going to go and bring this up. The young man just lost his first game of his career on the road at Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. That's all I'm going to say. But when he lost in that game, you could see the young man lose his cool. So let's just say Ohio State starts getting pressure on that young man in that game Thanksgiving weekend. He might crash out. He might start fighting with Justice Haynes again. Is that a formula for Ohio State to win the game? It could be. But what do you have to do? Get pressure on the quarterback. I am monitoring this very, very closely on Saturday. It's a primetime game. I believe it's a Peacock exclusive. And so if you don't have Peacock now, try to find a way to get it before kickoff on Saturday. I'm sure you'll be able to get it if you put your mind to it, because so many apps on the TV, so many apps on the Fire Stick. You can even watch it on your phone or your computer. So, like, watching it won't be hard. Just won't have the ability to flip back and forth between a game on ABC, a game on ESPN, a game on NBC. You couldn't flip back and forth that way. I hope you are someone that is, I won't say concerned. I don't think it's a thing to be concerned about right now. It's early in the year. These guys are getting extended playing time or starting for the very first time. So there's a lot of stuff that's very, very early. If the Buckeyes are only averaging 1.5 sacks per game, and you get into 3 or 4 Big Ten games, then there's an issue. I mean, this is a team that's trying to attack a national championship, correct? Well, while attacking a national championship, you must make sure you find a way to attack the quarterback. I did not know when I started that phrase that the attack was going to work with the quarterback. But here we are. The words are flowing a little bit better today, at least right now on the show. And I feel pretty good about where we are with Ohio State. Feel pretty good about this defense. Goes without saying. And I feel pretty good that I have a good feeling Ohio State, Larry Johnson, Matt Patricia are going to find more ways to get pressure. And we're going to be talking about the Buckeyes defense after the game against the Ohio Bobcats to think, wow, what a drastic step they took between weeks game number 2, and game number 3. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked on College Football, because Spencer McLaughlin is the guy you need to tap into to stay up to date with everything going on in college football. It was a wild college football Saturday, had games from 12 noon all the way till after midnight with a lot of the West Coast games. And Spencer's going to have you covered with everything going on in the sport. You can follow Spencer and Locked on College Football and Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked on Buckeyes on a Victory Monday. We'll see you next time.